Do you? Bam, we're live. Let me see if I can run this commercial. Here we go.
That's the sound of a 360-degree barbell brush by Hybrid Athletics.
Actually, that's the wow. You were gone when I started the commercial. That's actually the sound of Will Brandstetter.
Yep.
Barbelljobs.com.
Is it O'Keefe's birthday today?
Is it?
I think so. Yeah,
He's a Pisces?
I think he's 45 today.
He says he'll be on in 2 minutes. Good morning, guys. Good morning. There's a phone number if you want to crank call us. I want to thank our sponsor, barbelljobs.com. By the way, listen up real quick. Paper Street Coffee. I know I've told you guys this a bunch. 20% off. Make sure you go to the correct Paper Street Coffee. It's 20% off if you use the code Sevan, and you'll be entered to win a barbell if you do it between now and March 27th. I don't know how they do that. How can they give 20% off on coffee? But they do. I don't know if I like this show or I just like the fact that I get to drink coffee every morning at 7 a.m. You know what I mean? Like I could be like, I'm so excited to make a full cup of coffee and bring it here.
It's a ritual for you now.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like in the early years, I wasn't sure if I just liked my wife because she had boobs and a vagina, and now I know I like her for more than that. But it's got to start somewhere. So maybe I'll start to like this show more.
You shouldn't bring up your wife really when I'm on the show because I'm just gonna have an unlimited amount of positive things to say about her.
She is cool. Her boobs and vagina are great too. I didn't mean that as any derogatory way.
And that wouldn't be on the list of amazing things that I would list about her since I have no experience with that.
Thank you. You're a good dude. Tyler, we needed you last night. What were we talking about last night? I feel like there was something we talked about where he should have been in the comments railing away.
I don't know. Last night was probably at some points a little bit of a blur when I got a little excited.
I thought it was one of our best shows ever.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's just it was the third week that we've done it with Angelo, so it's a good flow. And also, I really, really thought that Colton cameo in the beginning was very nice.
Oh yeah. So how that formed was, I've been bugging him all week when he knows his scores to tell me. So he told me his score this week, and I thought it was the world record. So I was like, oh, cool. I didn't want Colton Mertens on. I wanted the fastest guy in the world who did that workout.
It would have been tough to know. I knew about Augustine Richelme's time of 4:15, but I didn't know about Scott Tetlow at 4:07.
So we had to settle for Colton, but it paid off, of course, because of that haircut. Holy shit. That's some breaking news shit.
Yeah, no, Colton's it's always fun to have him on.
And he was doing good with the talking part.
Seems more comfortable in general, yes.
Yeah. That's important for a podcast to be good at the talking part.
It is. That's why you're so good at it.
Yesterday I had mentioned that Mat Fraser did the interview with the Khaleesi, Lauren
Khalil.
God, even her name has Khalil in it.
I think that's why you call her Khaleesi.
No, I was because more superficial because she's a pretty blonde girl.
No, it was subconscious. You saw her name there. You saw the blonde girl, and you just made the link.
Khaleesi, I just see her walking out of a burning building.
You want to have her on the show here? We could invite her on.
I would love to.
Yeah, well, let's invite her on.
I would love to. That'd be awesome. But then I saw this morning, Matt also, if you also want to see what's going on with Matt, he did an interview that just posted 12 hours ago with Talking Elite Fitness with Sean Woodland and Tommy Marquez. I got about halfway through it. Oh, I think I just saw Matt. Oh no, you're the wrong Matt.
Oh, you wanted Mat Fraser?
Oh,
you were waiting for Mat Fraser? Sorry, guys.
I think the text messages got all fucking crossed up.
This is a right Matt as far as I'm concerned.
I like that. How you doing, Brian?
Hey, if I'm not mistaken, did Scott have a pretty good tournament this past weekend?
He had a great weekend. Yeah, he after the third round was within 3 shots of the lead. That's the biggest tournament every year in the world. It's the biggest prize purse, $20 million they give away.
And it's not a major, and this is actually a relevant thought for CrossFit in the coming years. It's not impossible that an off-season event becomes the biggest prize purse in CrossFit too.
Yeah,
I just type in
100%.
Scott the golfer. Let's see if he pops up.
Scott Stallings.
Oh.
I text Todd put up something about Scott and just like how he was ready for this weekend, whatever. I said, yeah, because he's got all the best gear, and he said no, because he's got the best mindset.
He's got it's such a mental game. It's crazy. We got to spend the first half of the week with him. I caddied for him on Sunday. Yeah, down there.
You did.
Give his caddy a break. Yeah, I've been doing that a little bit.
I apologize if you've rehashed this experience in another setting and I haven't heard it, but how cool was that shot on 17?
I haven't talked about it. Sevan, do you know what this is?
No. Paint the whole picture for me. I'm pulling up Scott's Instagram account too. By the way, I had him on the podcast.
I'll paint the picture while you don't pay attention.
Okay, no, I'm listening.
So the 17th hole at Sawgrass.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it. The 17th hole at Sawgrass, which is the course that hosts this tournament. It's called the Players Championship. So the Players Championship is basically the players own the tour. It's their tournament. It's all about them that week, and it's the biggest prize purse by light years. So I think majors were like 14 million. This is 20 million. But the course is iconic now because it's at the same course every year. And the 17th hole kind of weighs in on who wins and doesn't, because it's an island green. It's just this green in the middle of a lake. And it's a 155, 60-yard shot that when you have a lead coming in to win the Players Championship, which is your biggest moment in your career financially, you have to hit this like postage stamp green in the middle of a pond. So during the practice rounds, the players have fun and let their caddies hit shots there. So I caddy for Scott, and when we got up there, and there's always people watching. So it's like it's a little unnerving for an average golfer when people are watching you in general. And then put yourself in it's like put yourself at Fenway Park taking batting practice. It's becomes like this next level thing. But I got to hit a shot there on Sunday, and I hit the green. I just want you guys to know this. I hit the green.
It was hard to it's hard to tell in the video, but by the reaction, it was pretty obvious you were happy. Right off
the tee, you hit it.
Hit the green. I mean, this hole makes mincemeat of some of the greatest men to ever play the game of golf. Again, totally different circumstances. But it's
I hope they're making millions of dollars there behind you, O'Keefe, because I hope they're doing $1 million business deals behind you. Who's ever in the room with you?
I got the whole HWPO crew. We launched, so we're all in a room and
you're inseparable.
Grinding on questions and making sure people get into the right place. So, how are you guys, by the way?
I'm just busting your balls. It's not that bad.
I feel like I'm on Jerry Springer with this yellow thing down the bottom.
Oh, yeah. Why is that there? Thank you for pointing that out. Someone has to run the show. I tried to log into my Instagram. I just got really flustered. I tried to log into my Instagram account, and it wants my code, and I don't have my phone with me, and so I can't log into it and show your shot. Is it on your Instagram? Your 17th hole shot?
It is. No, it was on my story.
It was on. Yeah, I think it was on stories.
I by the way, like 4 weeks prior, I caddied in an event in Phoenix for him, and there's another like iconic hole there.
Is that 16?
Basically, they take the 16th hole and they put a stadium around it of like 40,000 seats, and it's like people just get rowdy. You gotta look it up. Somebody made a hole in one there.
Didn't they just like shower beer on the
They
course?
just like threw beers on the. It took them like an hour to clean up the hole. It's amazing. Yeah,
It's instantaneous. Someone hits a hole in one, and 10,000 people just
everybody
start
just
throwing
like
shit out on.
whatever's in their hand goes onto the golf course.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean,
You
those
got to
are
pull it up. It's
those
so
have
cool.
become two. Like they're definitely two of the most famous 10 holes in golf. Maybe the top 5 at this point.
Oh,
Tell me
for
what I
sure,
would
I'm
Google.
sure.
Hole in one where?
Hole in one Phoenix Open.
Is it called the Phoenix Open now? No longer the Waste Management.
It's WM. Yeah, it's the Waste Management Open. But I think.
Oh, if I play this, we're screwed. We're screwed.
What?
If I play, just because they're gonna screw with my video. I'm sure if I put this up. I'll let the commercial run through and then I'll put it up. I'll put who cares?
What?
Hey, how did you meet Scott Stallings, O'Keefe?
So through
Of being surrounded by hotel rooms. Is that what I see there?
no, those are like
They
12
erected that
level.
entire structure for that competition.
What?
That's a temp. Yeah. So that'll be up. That takes about 5 months to build. They'll take it down really quick within like a month. The course will be empty because it's a resort and people will play it, and they'll start building it 5 months prior to that tournament again. It does beg the question why they don't, because it's such an iconic venue, why they don't just start to build some permanence around that, because that has to cost millions of dollars to build every year. But you were asking about where I met Scott. I've met Scott prior to the pandemic, but we got close in the pandemic. Just being stuck at home, we would do workouts together, send them back and forth. We did a bunch of podcasting together. He's a big fan of CrossFit, had been for a long time. So we would, sort of banter back and forth through Instagram. He'd comment on stuff. He knew I was a golfer. I think like Todd said, Brian was saying that mindset. I mean, I just really love how Scott thinks. He's such a grinder. And it's not like you're what you would think prototypical golfer. But the more time you spend out there on tour meeting those guys, there's some pretty badass guys. Like they grind, they work out really hard in the gym, and it's a mental war to do what they do, playing for as much as they do, the stress that's involved. But anyway, Scott's a great guy.
When you say you like the way he thinks, what do you mean by that?
He thinks, you know what? That's a really good question. And the reason I say that is I think I bring it back to what I said before. I don't think a lot of people think golfers think like other athletes in sport. And I'll two-part that. So for one, he thinks like you would think a football player or a baseball player or a hockey player or, the best CrossFitter in the world might think. He's just grit, grime, determination, even though he's hitting a white ball off a tee with a collared shirt on, right? And I'm really aligned with Scott. It's like black and white. It's like do work, shut up, less talk, more work, put in an honest day every day. It's just, he and I just have a really good alignment on I think life in general. I love being around him. I love being around his family. He's good. He's good people too. Like, I think there's not, it's just, I say all the time, good things with good people for the right reasons. Scott's one of those people. Like, he just doesn't have a bad thing to say about anybody. And
basically the CrossFit community's embraced this guy because he's down with the protocol.
He is, man. Like so I've gone to a bit, obviously a few tournaments, and I probably will more, to spend some time, and that's a lonely place for those guys. I mean, they travel 30 weeks a year at least. So, being able to have some normalcy on the road is important. But dude, he gets after it. Like, I worked out with him at the Players on Monday and Tuesday, and I mean, I'm relatively fit. Like, I can't keep up with him. Like, he has an engine, like a real engine. He stays away from, some of the, traditional, CrossFit stuff we would love, which, couplets and gymnastic stuff. Like, he obviously is like very caring for his shoulders, but man, like, you put a 40-minute EMOM in front of this kid with like calories on machines, like, I mean, he's up there with some of the best. He's like really fit.
Damn. Hey, if that picture behind you was bigger, it would look like you were sitting there at the edge of a bridge. Yeah, you could.
Like
Oh,
that?
yeah. Oh, hey, don't take a step back, dude. That first step back's a doozy. Yeah, that's killer right there. Holy cow. I mean, it looks like you're there.
I would just have to sit here with my like in a half curl with my laptop though for like an hour. So I don't know if.
And you know what would be amazing is then like right at the end of the podcast, we see someone crossing the bridge coming towards us, being like, "Oh shit!" Like walking across towards the camera.
If Matt just walked away.
O'Keefe, when you left Wodapalooza, did you have a sense of like relief, like you found a piece of yourself that you had given to that place?
Yeah.
And I don't mean that with any negative connotation.
No,
I just mean
I know.
that transition usually opens that kind of stuff, you know.
It's interesting.
It was a huge part of your life, right?
Massive. But yeah, you know, in the positive way, yes. Like, you know, it's funny. I haven't really thought of it that way. And I've been saying this, you know, I thought that exiting that was going to be an incredible sort of detox. Like I was going to really struggle with it because I was so attached to it. It's incredible chaos, by the way. And it's, you know, incredibly rewarding especially when you come out of it. And I'm sure there'll be some of that when I go back next year, which I will. But yeah, the biggest realization is what you're identifying. It's just like, I guess when you're so far in something, I don't think you realize, you know, really what you're in sometimes. And man, like that was not going to be a sustainable path for me personally. Like I don't know who can, because I feel like I have a pretty high capacity and I had really gotten comfortable with that role. But yeah, I got a lot of good things back, and you know, I'm able to really focus on some things that I'm most passionate about now too. Yeah, a little piece of you dies because you put a lot of love and time into something for as long as I did with that, and it's such a passionate, cool community. But I'll be around. Like I'm not, you know, I'll be back for sure, and I just want to see it sustain and thrive, you know. But it's not my role anymore, unfortunately and fortunately.
But I mean, did you this sense of like finding O'Keefe again? I mean, you did what's it called in the relationship world? You did rebound rather quickly. You didn't do any alone time. You went straight from girl A to girl B. But I bring it up because when I was fired from CrossFit, there was this like, holy shit, I'm free. Like this fucking egg cracked and Godzilla stepped out. It was nuts.
I like that analogy, by the way.
I was like a pollywog that turned into one of those giant toads with teeth.
Wow,
that they don't allow in the, you know, the Calaveras frog jumping contest. There's like those giant frogs that eat the other frogs. They don't let them in there. I turned into one of those.
Dude, that analogy run right there needs to be clipped and put out. That was insane.
Did you feel this like kind of like you don't even realize like a breath of fresh air? In once again, it's nothing derogatory from where you came from. It's just you give and let's tie it to that sustainable part. You know, like living off of goo packs and being the greatest fucking bike rider in the world is not sustainable, right?
Right.
I mean, right. Was it like that? It was just you were just burning the candle from both ends.
100%.
To run Wodapalooza.
That is a really good way to put it. Is like, you know, it's not, you know, sort of capacity, capability, you know, lacking those things. It's just, you know, that's it. It was just like, you know, I'm running an ultra marathon 365, you know, 24/7. You know, but not to say that what I'm doing now isn't going to take, you know, an immense amount of work. I think it's just, you know, I think that I don't know exactly how you phrased the question, but I will say that I don't.
Like, have you found yourself? Like when I left CrossFit, like I thought it was going to be different than it was, and I found myself like the pieces that I didn't even know that I had lost.
Well, so that's kind of it. Like I'm precisely where I should be. Like that is
Yeah.
to me, a finding of myself, right? Like, and I think
Right.
that identification, I knew at Wodapalooza I was leaving. This wasn't an aha moment when that ended. Like,
You weren't fired. You walked away on your own.
Correct. I had it. I knew in
unless you guys made a deal to save face.
No, that's not what happened.
All right. Okay. All right.
So,
You're not chairman of the board, are you? Are you chairman of the board over there at Wodapalooza?
I don't know. Not yet. Maybe that's coming. But yeah, I think that was like a really big part of this for me, was just that's right where I should be. Like when Matt asked me if I would be interested and/or then him aggressively wanting me to be there, like it was like, hell yeah, like this makes perfect sense. So I think I was sort of at peace going through Wodapalooza, to be honest with you, because I was like, anything that deals from a chaos perspective, it was kind of like, all right, like I really want to enjoy this, be present, remember, I do a great job, by the way, like I needed to and wanted to. And then, I was just excited about where I was, where I was going at that time. So yeah, I think I've particularly in the last couple of years, and I've said this quite a bit, I have found myself. I had a really strong experience with COVID. I never had COVID, but like just being home more and being slowing the pace down, being more in control of what I should be doing and want to be doing. And realizing, I think becoming like more comfortable with myself and my own skin too at the same time. I think we're always evolving. I mean, man, I'm 44, like I'm mature. I still need to mature, I think that, I don't want to all the way mature, but that whole being home experience was really good for me. It really
and Matt's a good example. Matt's probably a good role model like that, because he's got a great he's got the great ability to say fuck off no. He has that skill, so you could learn that from him. Fuck off no.
True. Yeah, I have.
Or you could just choose fuck off, or you could just choose no, but he's really good at that part.
Is that what he said to you, Sevan?
No, he didn't.
Oh.
He did not.
That's awesome.
But I know, but I have a feeling if I kept pushing him, I might have got that.
No, it's funny. It's like I lived in this environment with him, and I, particularly working with him, he talks about it all the time. This, like, it was either like going to help me win the games or not. And that was the decision. And it's so true. Like, I mean, I honestly, like, it was that black and white around that, our camp for whatever, 8 years, so it was, but he is like that,
Is there any element or any one question that he has with regards to HWPO? Like what's the question when he's making a decision about that? If it's this, then we'll do it. If it's not, then we won't.
Oh, what's our north? Yeah. I mean, I think, a little more, there's a little more to it, but I think it's, we want to really run and stretch and spread our wings, but we're not going to do it unless we bring people in that know what they're talking about, that specific topic or subject, which has always sort of been a why and how for him. So I think it's like, hey, if we want to like put out a swimming track, well, we're going to bring in a swimmer. Like if we're going to bring a strength track, we're going to bring in, like, he's not going to just, wave his name around. I mean, by the way, we could transact a ton of business off of just his name and HWPO talking about widgets, right? Like, we're not going to do that. We're going to do it right. We're not bodybuilders. Like, we're going to bring in a bodybuilder. Like, I think it's super unauthentic to put out a bodybuilding program if you're not somebody that's really spent a lot of time and built expertise around that. So like, people are asking for that stuff, but Matt's like, I don't know how to do a bodybuilding program. I follow somebody else's, so that's it.
My perspective on it is, he probably had a ton of opportunity before him. He could probably kind of do whatever he wanted. But when you're talking about a business, that there's a lot of value in establishing a foundation and building a solid base, and then, making decisions about what's going to be on top of that. And so it's a strange situation for him to have so many possibilities and then decide which ones do we actually want to pursue now and which ones maybe want to put off to later and which ones aren't in alignment with what we want to do here.
Yeah, it's I mean, that's been constant throughout. Now it's just like, he's more available to be more engaged in some things, which opens a lot of doors. But, the process hasn't changed in that. Like, I think we've always been super protective of what we associate with in general, particularly Matt and his brand. So I think it's fun right now, though. Like, I mean, it's chaos. So we're moving a bunch of people from point A to point B. But, we're having a lot of cool conversations with, people in other sports and, people that want to, platforms that want to partner. So I just, I'm incredibly excited about where this is going to go. We have a lot of work to do. And it's like, the challenge is staying focused on, we still have a lot of work to do in CrossFit, really doing a great job programming for a large group. And we have a ton of people that follow HWPO training.
A ton.
So what's that?
A ton.
Yeah, that was a humble flex.
You said we have a ton of people following HWPO training. I'm emphasizing a ton.
Yeah, it is. It's super cool, and strong, very aligned community. Honestly, around Matt's ethos. It's just that's what's really fun, because I think talking about Scott's sort of in that same. That conversation's similar. It's just it's just Matt's like show up, do work, let's put in a day and take a step forward, and those steps are going to add up to where we want to be, the destination. So I'm excied. We got to get you.
Are you Stallings' agent? Are you Stallings' agent too? Has his agent called you and been like, "Hey, check yourself, brother. Check yourself"?
No, yeah, I've talked to him.
He gets all puffy chested around you. His agent.
Yeah. It's funny. I have. I've had many conversations with his agent. I think I like where Scott and I's relationship is. I mean, if I could ever help him, I'd help him in a second. Like, I just help him through his agent. I think it's. I got enough going on.
You're not trying to poach Stalling.
I don't poach anybody.
Right, you don't poach anybody. That's right. Okay, let me ask you. You're not a poacher. Let me ask you a question, and this is not a fair question. So be like, hey, that's not even a real question. This is a real question.
I love it. I love the start. There we go. Okay.
Is it there's when you gamble at a casino?
Am I going to spit my coffee out? Should I not drink my coffee?
No, you're not. No, you're not. You can drink away. When you gamble, there's no nudity in this question. When you gamble at a casino, there is the house plays differently than the players. I think. I don't gamble, but they have rules. Like, I think they have to hit on certain cards and shit, right? Like if you're playing blackjack against the house and they get a certain number, they have to hit. So they have rules they have to play by, and those rules. There were rules in your relationship with Matt when you were his agent, and now you're on his team. And one really nasty way I could word it, this is how I was going to word it originally, but then I went with the gambling analogy, is before you used to make money off of Matt, now you make money with Matt. And that might not even be fair to say, because I don't really understand what the relationship, obviously it's not mine, but how have things changed between you and Matt now that you guys, you're not two businesses aligned? I mean, outside of your fantastic friendship, you're now one business. Is that right? Like, your relationship, personal relationship, has to have changed with him a little bit, right? It's like when you get married, I don't know what changes, but something changes. I was with my wife for 15 years. We got married and something changed. I was like, whoa, that was weird.
It is funny to say that. Because I mean, that is true with marriage. It's like, okay, now what? That isn't the case here. It's I mean, it's just been, I don't know. It's like, people look at or hear the words and say like, that's a crock of shit. But it's just like been a really easy progression. Next step hasn't changed anything. Our personal relationship is so strong that it just makes it, even easier to do what we're doing at this point. Like, you were saying money off of and money with, that's never sort of been the case. Like, I think we've always just been, my success was his. We never looked transactionally at anything. And it was always, and even today, a forward investment mentality that, was going to get us to the destination. So I think, again, that's the way it is with this now. Like we want to put 100,000 people on this platform. We want to, have HWPO be this beacon for, people to see on multiple platforms that, that's where they want to be from a training of, their mind and body perspective. Like, validating whatever it is out there. It's like, oh, HWPO is here. I can do it here. I can, but they, I don't, that's a really good question, Sevan. Like, nothing's changed and will. We've always spent an immense amount of time together. We've always talked daily. We've always had a lot going on. I've always known everything, like, honestly, almost to a fault about Matt. Like, in order for me to be able to be what I was with him, it was like, I got to have it all. Like, I can't help you if like something shows up here through the media that I didn't know, but you were holding in or whatever it was. So like, that makes business super easy because, and ask him, he'd tell you, like, he just, we sat down and he said, this is what I need from you. And this is, this is what I expect from you. What do you expect from me? All right, let's do it. And if that evolves or changes, let's change, there's change to that. Let's sit down and talk about it a little more and make sure that we're aligned. But he wants me to run this business and he believes in me. He's seen it from other things I've been involved in. And, he's going to play a heavy hand in that because he's so articulate with the brand and the product. But yeah, man, it hasn't really changed a whole lot. Like,
Do you guys fight ever? Do you guys fight ever?
No, we really don't. Like, we have, I wouldn't even call them fights. Like, they're like perfectly acceptable moments of frustration with like somebody has said something somewhere or done something where it's like aggressively, we're both fiery people. Passionate.
You're fiery?
I'm pretty passionate. I mean, sometimes that passion, I can be emphatic. Like I'm not yelling.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I do know a story about you being fiery.
Who's that?
I do know a story. You a couple years after you called Brian Mulvaney and gave Brian Mulvaney a piece of your mind.
I did.
Wow. I did. And when I heard that story, I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. Okay.
I do have that. Yeah.
That's right.
Like,
wow.
You cross me or you cross, people around me, like you will see that. And,
wow.
When I have like a lot of passion for someone.
Yeah.
And I feel like, it needs to be, directly, I think that emphasis needs to be put on it to make sure people see, that, or that person sees that it's meant. Again, it's not often, but yeah, we don't, honestly, I don't think we've never had a fight, Matt and I. And we do have some funny moments that he would characterize as us like bickering or having a fight, but they're mostly competitive related. Like when I drove to the Home Depot, people have heard that story, and like he was,
or when you beat him in Karen.
Yeah, no, he was just like bullshit at me there, but like I deserved it. I mean, I wasn't fucking paying attention, so it was like that was like 2014. I
want to propose something to you.
What's that?
You ready? About Matt, and then you can just be like, that's bullshit, or yeah, you're right. I had this guy on the show the other day, a super duper successful investor. He's got 20,000 people working for him, 150 different offices around the country. Crazy ambitious fucking dude, like nuts ambitious. And he instead of having affirmations around his house, he had shit that people said about him that pissed him off.
Was it Michael Jordan?
No, it's kind of Michael Jordan. It was Patrick Bet David. And Matt's got this guy kind of lives off of that. And those kind of people are kind of scary because you could slip into that for them. I see Matt as that same way. Matt is fueled off of that second place medal that he hangs in his room that he talks about. I feel like he's also like that with people. Like he needs some villains in his life in order to, villains might be too strong. I want to make this lighthearted.
But those people are motivating for him.
Yes. And
resentment.
and it's not a good role to be in. Are you ever afraid you could become that person? You could be like, well, I'm going to use O'Keefe for that. Are you and Sam? Like, because I always wonder that about you and Sammy. Could you guys ever? I mean, I think that's his play.
It's a good question. But the answer is straight no. Like, it just, I totally get where you're going with that, because I think a lot of greats use resentment to fuel the fire. Like, that's not, I don't think any of them are different in that. Like, you said I couldn't, so I did.
Right.
But, nah. I mean, because I don't like, it's not like, I don't know how to describe it. It's
those
like,
people don't even need to hear you say it. He could hear from someone else. Matt O'Keefe said this, and then just hold on to it. And then all of a sudden he's got you in pretty close. I don't think he could turn you into one of those guys. It's like this too. Like, people don't there's this Taoist saying, if they lie for you, they'll lie to you. And that's a hard one for people to comprehend. It's the same thing why sending soldiers away to war is so crazy, because you think they all come back killers. You send away 1 million boys to fight, and now you have one, and they come back and they've all killed someone. Now you have 1 million killers in your country.
That is a really good point. So this is something that I think is what makes our relationship so pure. I don't think people get this. We're going through.
I don't.
But we don't. I completely respect. Not respect. I'm completely aligned with that statement, which is like, if you watch me do something with someone else, well, you're always capable of doing that same thing to me, right?
Right.
I don't do that shit. So it's like one of those things where it's like, I don't do things that I know I don't, and nothing that I do makes him uncomfortable. Like, that's where the alignment is I get, I'm not like this fucking church mouse, but I would say that, things that would make you uncomfortable to see, as me being his agent or like business partner, I put my head on the pillow at night perfectly. I promise you that. And so that part, which, like, what else? Like, you can bicker about some shit. Like, why'd you handle it that way and why'd you choose A instead of B? Like, that's just the way the world goes around. But you're not going to ever have an ethical issue with me. Like, that's the thing. And him, like, yeah, you might not like my opinion on something, but like, I don't stab people or like, nor does he, or like intentionally connive. So like, in the grand scheme of things, like, those are the things that would create those type of stresses. It's like, you said over here this, and then you acted like this. Why are you talking like this? I would never do that. Like, that's not the type of person I am, nor him. So I think that kind of helps you with that. But what you just said is so true. It's like, how can you ever trust somebody that you listen to in a conversation and they're like, it's almost like, watch this, and they like are completely full of shit to get where they want to get. And you're sitting there like, well, okay, it's only a matter of time that you do the same thing to me to get where you want to get with me, right?
Yeah.
If you just kind of handle I don't know. That's the problem, is that's the hard road traveled. Like, the easy road traveled is to be, play the short game. You got to play the long game. If you don't play the long game, there's no foundation for, being where you want to be long term. That's really it. And that then is hard, and it's not instant gratification.
Go ahead, Brian.
No, I'm gonna change this topic.
Okay, let me finish this. It's a weird paradox, because I try my absolute best never to put anyone under the rules of trust. I try to make it so no one ever has to live under my rules of trust, because I want everyone to be free about me. I want it to be so you could talk shit behind my back and I'll still be your friend. You could steal from me, I'll still be your friend. I don't want there to be, for me personally. But on the other hand, it's so important. It's really bizarre. It's a weird it's really important to trust people. It's really, 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 really important to trust people and for people to trust you. But on the other hand, I never want anyone to feel like, I had a friend in college who was a heroin addict, and I came home and my bike is gone, and like, I can't be mad at him. That's what that, like, if you have a snake and I have a mouse, your snake's gonna eat my mouse. Like, I know you're a heroin addict and you steal bikes. It's like, oh fuck. I'm like, dude, where's my bike? He's like, oh, sorry, I stole it. Like, oh. You know what I mean? There's like, we're just people. So I try to give people like, it's a trip.
Yeah. I mean, there's different
Because
layers.
you want people
of
to
that.
be free. You want your friends to be free around you, right? You want them to be able to tell you that, hey, I've been secretly fantasizing about having sex with you for the last 10 years. Be like, oh, wow. You know, you want them to be.
That's what Sevan always wants to hear.
Yeah. What if I was actually thinking about this today? What if one person, I just wish someone liked me for I never had anyone like me for superficial reasons. Like I just wish there was one girl who was just in my whole, it's probably that window's gone, but I'm 49 years old. What if there would have been one girl who's like, God, I just like that guy for his body and the way he looks.
You just wanted to use you for your body.
Yeah. Just, I know it's frowned upon, but like,
I haven't had that problem either.
That. Yeah, that would have been.
Yeah. I mean, maybe, you know, people, I mean, you might be in that position now, you know, it's like, you know, you got a famous podcast with all, you know, these cool people that come on. So
dudes, everything I do attracts dudes. I had a great day. All I did was walk around and talk to dudes all day.
He was great at throwing a frisbee. Only dudes were interested in that.
Yes, just dudes.
People use Brian's body for his frisbee game.
Brian, I'm gonna ask him about some athletes. Do you want to go that way?
That's exactly what I was gonna do.
Okay, good. You go, and then.
But before we talk about that, I wanted to know, and you don't have to go into too much detail. Are you still managing athletes in any capacity?
Yeah, we not much different than the past 4 or 5 years with Loud and Live, where, you know, we have a team that helps the day-to-day with that. You know, it was all under one umbrella. It's not now. We're bringing my guy Daniel is coming with us out of Loud and Live as well, and he's been heavily day-to-day with athletes, and we're going to hire some other people to support him as well. So yeah, nothing's changing there. There's a whole other entity being established that Daniel's going to be more involved with. Actually, we're going to get some support for him, but I'm still going to advise there and be involved. And there's certain people that, you know, I'm more involved day to day with on the business side, athlete wise. So nothing's really changing there. It was actually like Matt was kind of, when I was making the decisions and looking at the moving pieces, he's like, how the hell do you not do that? Like, you know, that's been who you are from the beginning. So, well, I don't. That's cool. I'm glad that you're still doing that, because I think that you're one of the best resources out there for athletes. And Daniel also is, you know, working really hard and making a great name for himself in that regard in this space, which is cool.
What's Daniel's last name?
Robbins, Robbins. He's got a great background, pedigree, Michigan graduate school sport.
Oh, yeah. You just like Tom Brady too much.
I'm not a Michigan fan. I promise you that. I'm a BC guy. Like,
before we get to the CrossFit athletes, what do you think about Tom Brady's decision this week?
I mean, I was pretty sad he had retired. I thought he played till, honestly, he was 50. I mean, it's got to end at some point. I mean, it's great. I got something to watch this fall. I mean, I love Tom Brady. Who the hell doesn't like Tom Brady? Sevan, you like Tom Brady?
I don't know who that's the football player.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know Jack. I refuse to part. If I see anything NFL, I go nuclear.
I
have to block out all NFL talk.
I mean, Sevan, his stats and career in the NFL, honestly, for quarterbacks, I think it's almost as ridiculous as combining like Tia and Matt's accomplishments in CrossFit into one athlete. It's that impressive and that much distinguished from the field.
It's crazy. Yeah, he is like.
Has he spoken out about how dumb the NFL is yet?
No, the thing is, he also is very good at staying out of any controversial situations. He just does his business, plays really smart. He's definitely got some cerebral capacity for football that separates him from everyone else. But he's managed his career and his body just about as good as any quarterback ever could.
He is the exercise guy too, right? He has an exercise program or something that talks about his long
TB12 method. Yeah, Matt's worked with those guys. He's got like this guru, Alex Guerrero, who's an awesome guy who would help Matt with a lot of stuff through his career, injury prevention. Just got a unique approach, nutrition and, physical fitness and preparedness. It's pretty cool, actually.
All right, Sevan, I got 3 athletes on my list, and I'm going to ask O'Keefe about them in a very specific order.
Good.
Am I going to know who these people are?
I have 2 on my list. I'm very curious.
The first one is Sevan.
The first one is.
So how did the Open go?
No Matosians in the Open this year. No, the first one is Brooke Wells, and
Yes.
I think I had. There's just I think Adrian Peterson's recovery from ACL surgery a few years ago was like the first really high level example of athletes now having the capacity to recover from apparently devastating injuries in a really short amount of time relative to what we're used to. And maybe there's some I don't know about, but that was like the first one I remember. And since then, we've seen that in a lot of different ways with a variety of different injuries. In CrossFit, her injury at the games last year that's really the first time we've seen someone of that profile have that kind of an injury and that live of a setting, like where everyone saw it happen. And I don't think anyone was expecting her to do this well in the Open, regardless of what was or wasn't tested so soon after that. Just curious if you've talked to her at all, or your perspective on what her recovery has been like and how well she did this past month.
Talk to her all the time. She's one of my favorite people in my life, in the world. I've worked with her since she was maybe 17, 18 at least, she's doing great. Honestly, like, it doesn't surprise me when it comes to her that she's at where she's at in, sort of superstarred through recovery with an injury, right? She just is I don't think a lot of people publicly have gotten the real access to Brooke to understand the real work. Like, there is a fierce, obviously she's a fierce competitor because she's in the top of the world in the sport every day, and it's such a hard every year, and it's such a hard sport to process. She's a pretty incredible person. When that hit and she got injured in Madison, Todd, Melanie from Noble is very close with her as well. He's helped me with her on the business side quite a bit. It's a village with her, and we both were kind of like, she'll be fine. Like, it wasn't like the standard, like, trying to help her and like brainwash her into thinking she's going to be fine. Like, she literally overnight, there was like, emotional that day, but like the next day she's like, all right, like what do I got to do to get back to make sure I'm at the game?
No shit.
Literally,
because as a fan, it was like the worst thing to see. It was like so scary. Everyone loves her, and everyone's like, "What the fuck?"
Well, and like that's really impressive to hear, because even for me, there was an element of like, oh my gosh, like this was she was going to have a breakthrough season, I think, at the games, like her best finish against the deepest field that she's been able to do, and then to have that happen and not be able to finish it that way could have been so mentally devastating for her. So to have that turnaround in one day says a lot.
It's like, we didn't go to I went to a lot of doctor's visits, with her and Todd and her mom. She worked with TV12 quite a bit, actually, too. They helped her. There wasn't any tears there. Like, like there was never these moments where like, this is hard, or like, I can't believe I'm going through this. It was literally like, just tell me what I have to do today to get where I want to get later. Like, it's how she is with everything. Like, Brooke isn't a crier or a poor me person. Like, that just is not how she processes shit. So when this came up to the Open, it was kind of like my perspective. I've tried to stay as high as I could above it, to be like, all right, like, are we making a sound decision for you, not moving into the Open and having to do some things you haven't done? Because she really held off on like ring muscle ups, some things you've seen her post recently about some stuff that she's added. But the doctor was like, dude, she's ready. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's like, he's like, but
there's a physical ready and there's a mental ready.
Well, but that part is what people don't realize. Like, yeah, you got to be careful with people who are too ready mentally too, because they push the physical too far, right? It met perfectly here.
That's the fear with like Sarah. Like, everyone's scared about Sarah because, like, is she mentally more ready than physically? Like, that's what scared us about her, right?
There, like, dude, she's snatching really big weight right now, and there's not like this, like, she's never like she was like, whatever, I got hurt, like, the doctors say I'm fixed, and like, this is the process. She just has a lot of trust, and she makes a decision on who to trust, and then she listens to them and does her thing. Honestly, she looks great. She's back doing everything at this point, because I think that was like the next step when quarterfinals comes. You're going to do ring muscle ups. You're going to do a lot of other things that she hadn't spent a lot of time on. She's back, and I'm so proud of her, dude. Like, that is, I think she's primed to have a great year. I mean, I don't think there's really this step back that people would think off of an injury like that, because she's been able to maintain her lungs, so she's been able to now build off of that and get back where she needs to be really successful this year.
Yeah, I'm doing throughout the season kind of a power rankings up. I won't update it after the Open because for the elites it's not that great of an insight. But after the quarterfinals I will. And I had her 10th, kind of was like 10th with an asterisk of we just don't know. But now, very impressive Open. Sounds like she's on track to have a success in the quarterfinals. And if that's the case, she's certainly in the conversation for one of the, possibly 5 fittest women on earth at this point.
You just need to talk to me more, Brian. I'll help you out. Make sure you're not making any.
Yeah, I actually have a couple of things I should probably call you about.
Was she injured when she went into that event, that snatch event? That was the story that we were told that her elbow was already tweaked a little bit.
Her elbow had been an ongoing problem, that with tendonitis, strains. So
any hyperextension before then?
Too much disc golf, I think.
A little bit. Yeah, too much disc golf. Yeah, she just,
Like, did she ever fathom in a million years that would happen to her? Was she like,
no, I was just going to say that. Like, I didn't think we'd think or anybody around her that would have happened, but it wasn't, this insane surprise that she had an elbow injury,
That's what happened, right? Her elbow went the wrong direction.
Dislocated.
Because it opened up too much.
I think that it had to do with the tendon that runs on the inside of your elbow being stressed. So that's why it dislocated. That came out.
But when you say dislocated, like, see, my arm stops here. Her arm went past that point, right?
I think that's a hyperextension.
Yeah, did it hyperextend?
Yeah, she does. Well, she doesn't have that anymore, by the way. And she does.
I know. I heard they put a metal plate in there, and it just locks there and can't go past there now. It goes from her wrist to her armpit.
That is not true. Debunk any of that, please.
All right.
Wait, things you say like that are like, that's probably on the interwebs now. People are making all kinds of memes off of that.
Her and Fikowski are working out behind the barn at Mayhem.
Should we go, Sevan, should I go to athlete number 2?
Yes, because I have another athlete too. Well, congratulations. I'm super happy. I think everyone's happy. I think she's a crowd favorite, a fan favorite. I think she's one of those athletes that's transcended the sport in a way that people just like to see her. She's got that.
She could work on her smile a little bit, though.
You think?
I'm just kidding. Grace.
No.
Sevan, was that one of the 2 athletes you were going to ask about?
Yeah. I was going to ask about her and Catrin. I can't believe how well her and Catrin did in the Open. It's kind of crazy. I didn't expect them both to do so well.
Do you have anything to say about Catrin O'Keefe?
She's doing great, honestly. She's
yours, right, Matt? She's your athlete also?
Yeah, I worked with her most of her career. Yeah, she's a really good friend. She just made some really good decisions for her happiness being home around her.
I actually think that the changes she made this year and the changes you made this year are somewhat similar.
Very. We've talked a lot about it, actually. Just like really, starting to own things that are important in life, not important to everyone else, I think is really kind of where she was at. And I think deciding whether, it was okay to say like, hey, I might compete, a few more years to maintain status quo, or did I want to win? And if I did, like, what did I have to do to win? And making a change to her was, a really big piece of that. And I think then adding some of those other things together, like moving home, she just missed family, and particularly her grandfather, who's, older, obviously. And she lost her grandmother. So I think she just wanted to make sure that she didn't regret not, wake up because she's been running around in 5 years from now and not have spent that time with him. So she's home, really happy. She's in a great relationship, a healthy relationship with one of the 5 nicest people in the history of the world, Brooks. And just like, perfectly aligned on a lot of stuff, mentally from an athletic perspective. Like, he's been at the top of a sport before, which is really cool and unique, but just a really nice human being.
Pretty fit guy too.
He is incredibly fit. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see him show up at the games as in the Masters category at some point if he puts.
Are him and
Yeah.
Scott Stallings the same person? Let's just be honest.
No.
Be honest. No,
They are
that's not
different.
Scott Stallings having two lives.
Sevan Stallings with an S at the end.
Stallings.
Stallings. There's an S on the end of that. Yeah.
Him and those aren't the same guy.
They're not.
That's two different.
So
okay.
Brooks played in the NHL. That's
Okay,
hockey.
NHL. Okay, got
For
it. I wrote that down.
14 years, and had a very successful hockey career. So,
And the other guy plays in the sport that starts with the P. PG.
PGA Tour.
Just
So
golf.
we call that
Professional
golf.
golf.
We call that golf.
All right. I got it. I wrote it down. NHL is Scott Stallings, and Brooke is PGA. I got it.
You got that?
I got it. It's all perfect.
You should have both of them on.
I have had both of them on.
Not what?
Yeah.
You have not had Brooks on.
Yeah, I had Brooks up. Well, not on this podcast. I had him on the CrossFit podcast.
Oh, cool. Brooks, you had him on the CrossFit podcast.
I had him in the room. Yes.
I don't know about that. I think you're thinking of someone else.
Would you like to make a small wager?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You probably had him. Yeah, that's some confidence. That's what I was looking for. I got it out of you.
All right. Well, the second athlete I wanted to ask you about.
Wait. I want to ask him something else about Catrin here. So,
Hey,
so,
Brandon. Nobody asked you, okay, buddy?
oh yeah.
All right.
Shut up, Brandon. There's this, and I always go back to my favorite book here. There's this Taoist saying, "Only confused people make decisions." Was her, and I know it's a lot to ask you to speak for her, but was this a decision, or was this for her just? And I really appreciate Catrin has not been shy about her love and devotion to her grandmother. It was pretty fucking awesome. She basically used that and fueled that love for her grandmother to win that game. She had her grandmother's name written on the shoe. It was fucking awesome. That's the kind of stuff you'll never see ever again because there's no behind the scenes anymore. Was that hard? Is that like something she mulled on for a year, or was it? Did she? And I would ask the same with you about going from Loud and Live to HWPO. Are these just smooth? Are these pretty smooth in both your heads? I know it's two big questions. Like that, it's not even a decision. Really, it's just life. It's like you're in that flow, the river.
I like when you're doing. I like that move you're making over there. That is, they're very similar. They're ran parallel paths, and we were able to have a lot of conversations along the way. And I think, yeah,
because she had to have a tough conversation with Ben. You had to have a tough conversation with all the people you love. She had to have like sometimes you just know what you have to do, but it sucks because you have to like have these tough conversations. So maybe
they're
you don't
not
do
though.
they're not okay.
They're not if you're making a sound decision. They're not that like it's tough to tell somebody I don't want to anymore and I'm gonna go do this and this is the why. They're not that tough. Like I think
it's a matter of semantics. I think what Sevan's saying is that in this case, it wasn't even a decision. It was just the natural next thing to do.
And the same for her in a lot of ways. And it's not like here, we talk about this quite a bit with our move from the prior app we were on to now. It's not about them. It's about us. It's like, we're doing this for us and for our community. Because there's a lot of things that they asked for that we couldn't do over there. So we're going to do it here, right? It's the same. Like this thing was not, this was about Matt, me making a sound decision for my family and me and like, being around more of what I wanted to and being really attracted to this than it was not that, right? And it's the same for Kat, because I'm telling you, we were having these conversations along the way because we were kind of like, hey, we're kind of going through the same shit right now. Like, this is interesting and really helpful. Like, how are you feeling? It's just like one of those things where it wasn't like she woke up one morning and was like, I got to move from Ben.
Right.
It was just, there was things along the way that it wasn't even a Ben thing. She was like, I just, I need to seek this out to get better at this. And then, it was a progression for her. Like they have an incredibly beautiful history. I mean, it's like, players that win NBA championships or NFL championships with the coach, and then they go play for another team and they win with another team, it's like, well, you don't forget that you won the championships with that coach. Like they had a lot of success together.
Right.
It's just, people evolve and change, and especially in individual sports. Like I think sometimes to realize full potential and for people to mature properly, you do have to get a different look on things. Like that's just the reality of it at times. You hit sort of the proverbial wall, or, you need a new look, especially with the sport we're in. Sometimes that's just like necessary. So progress, it was like really it. Like it wasn't an anti this thing. It was more of a like, I got to move forward, because Catrin truly believes in everybody around her too, that she still has a lot of success to be had left in the CrossFit space. She just needs to do some things to get there.
You have not. I have had Scott Stallings on. I've had Scott Stalling and Scott Stallings. I had both of them on. And actually, he gave me a really great compliment that like almost everyone gives me. So
like you have a nice beard?
Yeah, exactly.
Who was the other? So those were the athletes. That was it.
No, I've only asked about one of the three.
So this Catrin was about Sevan. Sevan just dove in and took over and said, "Ryan, we don't care what you have to say."
No, I'm glad he asked about Catrin. I wasn't.
I am very excited. I am very excited for both of them. I really do like the fact that when I think people are done, that they
prove you wrong.
Yeah, I mean the greatest thing would be if Rich or Matt came back in individual. That'd be the ultimate, because I don't think either of them has the discipline.
You're gonna ride that horse until it happens. Is that?
Yeah, I don't think either of them have the discipline or the ability to come back. I think once you leave it.
Oh, so you're just doing what we talked about earlier. Throw that resentment out the thing they need to attach to say like, I'll prove you wrong.
I want 3% if that works. I want 3%. Okay, go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
How's Jason Hopper doing? Because I feel like he's been almost intentionally quiet and just going about his work, but I just wonder if you've had any interactions with him or can tell us anything about where he's at right now at the start of the season.
The internet was even saying that he got separated from HWPO.
Yeah, that's not true. He was up in Vermont, not too long ago. He came to Boston. We took him. He wanted to kind of. We're close. Like I love Jason. Good, really nice kid. I love his story. Want to help him. You guys are the same, So he.
What, that you love us and want to help us, or that we love him and want to help him? Which one is the same?
You love him. Well, both.
Yes. Okay. Good.
But he came up Boston anyway. We took him to a Celtics game. We went up to Vermont and trained a bit. So I was just with him recently. He's doing really good. But yeah, I mean, he's honestly, he's great. Like, dude, he had a great result in the Open. Like, I mean, it's interesting. The Open's like this sort of like weird place, especially now where it's like built to be for guys like us so that we can compete and be very involved and get through everything and like feel like it isn't about one muscle up at the beginning of a workout or whatever. Like it's a more sort of capacity approached, program, which is exactly what it should be. But it's really, for him to be as successful as he was in the Open is really impressive because, the Open's not really built for a guy, the way he's structured. So he's doing great, man. Like I think the quiet and the silence and sort of that approach is like, it is, it's time. It's just time for him to work. Like he just wants to work. And, I think last year was like overwhelming to some extent where it was like, nobody knew who he was. He went to the MAC and now everybody thought he was going to win the CrossFit Games. Not everybody. A lot of people were like, oh, you're going to win. Even, himself. Why shouldn't he think that too, by the way?
Right. I agree.
So he, I think he's just like now done this sort of recalibration and he's like, I got a lot of work to do and I'm going to do it. And he's a pro now and it's awesome, and you're seeing that in some of his results, Wodapalooza, Rogue, like a lot of people look at that and be like, well, shit, where's Jason that won the MAC? Well, I think you can look at Jason from the games and then look at those results and be like, man, he's making some progress, so he's doing great, honestly. Like I'm pumped to see him. I think we'll see him soon. He'll come up to Vermont for some training after quarterfinals for semifinals. But yeah, I talked to him quite a bit.
Yeah, I think it's the last it's not even been 12 months since the MAC, and he's probably gone through 10 months of a lot of highs and lows, a lot of newness for him, and it feels like even through that now he's kind of in a more relaxed, calm, and focused state. There's a lot of maturity that I think has happened, but I think most people are looking at the season and they're like, I want to see what he does this year, because it started with this huge high. There was a big letdown at the games from most people's perspective, and then kind of middle, I would say like middle performances, like some good results, some workouts where still looked like he has some stuff he can improve on at both Rogue and Wodapalooza, very respectable stuff. But will we see another performance like the MAC at semifinals this year? What can he do at the games? So I think he's on the right track.
He's a really, driven competitor. Like, you guys know this about him, but like he has the tools. There's some things that need to be, fine-tuned and improved. And there's some things that, physically, he's a different approach. The games should be and look like, a platform that would be incredible for a guy like him. Brent, it's an analogous to Brent, I've always thought that, Brent would, well, he has put it together so many times. Like, Brent's medaled 4 times or whatever it is, 3 times, so he just, Jason's insanely athletic, and he works his ass off.
Insanely athletic.
And what he did in the Open this year, I think, is better than Fikowski's ever done in the Open. So it's also a testament to the capacity that he has. We were talking about it last night. In the top 10 for the men, Dallin Pepper's in 10th, and he's the clear physical outlier of the guys in the top 10. The rest of the guys are just slightly smaller than, or significantly smaller than, the expected or average games athlete, in the men's field. And so for him to be right there, top 16th, I think he was, at that size, with all the obviously Fikowski-like traits that he has that can be good in a live competition. Oh, wow.
How do you you on your analysis, and Sevan, I don't even know how close you're paying attention to leaderboards and things like that. The Open is, it doesn't really tell a very good story.
This year's Open
doesn't tell a very good story. It tells no fucking story. The Open's a fucking disaster and a joke.
But hold on.
I hate it. I don't give a fuck about the average CrossFitter in regards to the Open. I need someone to go to the game straight from the Open so people give a shit when they do the workouts. So one of my favorite athletes and the most popular athlete, maybe in the female division, Sarah Sigmundsdottir, writes on her Instagram, the Open doesn't matter. And you know what? She's fucking right, and that bums me out. Make the top 5 people get to go to the games, because I want to see fucking Rich Froning do every workout 6 times. Thank you. My name's Sevan.
Those days were wild, actually.
I love that shit.
Repeating a lot. Well, the Open is the largest sporting event in the world. It's crazy cool, right? Like, I don't those days though of like the Open being like, ground out. 'Cause that's what I'm saying.
I want more pressure on the athletes.
Yeah, from an elite perspective, it doesn't really have a whole lot of weight.
Right.
So it's just like one of those things, but it is an incredible competitive platform, though. You can't deny it. Hundreds of thousands of people doing the same thing is wild.
True.
So.
We talked about this last night. It's a reframing. You have to reframe what to expect from the Open. And I had an article come out on Morning Chalk Up this morning that talks about all of the things that were different about this year's Open from previous Opens. I'm not saying that it's a bad or a good thing. I'm just saying that.
Did you see his peacock feathers go when he said I had a Morning Chalk Up article?
I think that there's a lot of people that are asking questions or frustrated with certain things regarding this year's Open. I think I addressed most of them in there.
I read all your stuff, so I am completely joking when I say that. By the way, it is
already, Brian. Sorry, Matt. You published it already. I can't find. Okay. I'm looking.
It came out today. It was called, I don't know what. Has the CrossFit Open entered a new era?
Yeah, I see it.
Most of your stuff's on the Insider, right?
This one is not.
Oh, he really knows how to push your buttons, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I pay to read them.
Who is it? Who is that lady right there in this photo?
No idea.
I think that's from the CrossFit Hendersonville live announcement. That might be Lindsay McGuffey.
Oh, she's like the new version of Camille.
What?
She looks like just like the 2022 version of Camille right there, kind of. Hey, are you Mal O'Brien's agent?
No,
O'Keefe?
I am not.
Do you have any new people?
I do. Yeah. I mean, Mal's obviously with us at HWPO training, and she is awesome, by the way.
Well, she's actually the last athlete I wanted to ask you about, and I specifically wanted to ask you about something that Fraser put up on his Instagram this morning, or maybe it was yesterday. He did a little Q&A on his Instagram, and someone asked about Mal and if we could see a full day of training of hers, and his response was, "I'm creating a weapon, and if she wants to put that stuff out, that's up to her. I'm not going to bother her. I'm not going to do that." But the perspective I wanted to add, you can certainly talk about that if you want to, and that mindset of, it's not like that's a pretty strong statement to say. I'm not creating an athlete. I'm not creating the fittest. I'm creating a weapon, and that's like I have to think about that a little bit when you put it in those words. So maybe you can say something about that.
Hey, maybe Mal should come out with a shirt that says Tia Killer. HWPO should come out with a shirt Tia Killer. Maybe the antidote. The antidote. That's kind of fits with the whole pandemic vibe. The antidote. Mal O'Brien.
Do you think of these things on the fly, or do you write these down ahead of time?
I just thought of it on the fly.
How about this?
I was the media director of the fastest growing company in the history of the planet. People forget that, and now I'm just a dude with a podcast.
Didn't his original Rogue shirt have an arrow on it?
It does.
So with this, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Sevan? There was an arrow.
Vague. Was it on the R or something?
No. There was like it was like a horizontal arrow underneath the word Rogue or something, and then this is like her Rogue shirt. What Mal's needs to be is that same arrow, but then another arrow that comes in and splits it in half, Robin Hood style.
Woo.
That's the weapon, and then it's a little more subtle than just saying Tia Killer.
3% each. 3% each. 3% each. Okay, 3%.
She's incredible. She's moved up to Vermont, so she's up there day to day, spending a lot of time. Matt's in the gym in the morning with her, and Jake Marconi, who is her training partner, works with us at HWPO training as well. He actually coaches Jason day to day, but he's also going to finish like 40th in the world in the Open. By the way,
Jake did.
Yeah.
Badass.
So, but yeah, she's man, it's like it's hard. It's like such an interesting thing. Like you hesitate to put this. Like reminds me a lot of on people, especially when you start talking about like goats like Matt. But she reminds me a lot of him in so many ways. It's just like whatever. Let's play this out and like let her grind, and they're having a lot of fun together. And I think it's because they are so aligned on how they think and approach what they're trying to pursue and how they approach the day from, associating it with that. I have to always like look at, she's 18. It's like, you're 18. Like, dude, what? Like, it's crazy. Just knowing what I was thinking and doing. I mean, I was an athlete going to college to play sports, but, just what was, she's tunnel focused, like, hyper focused. I try to think of it in sport and be like, oh, there's gymnasts that go to the Olympics and they're 15 and 16. So like, this isn't abnormal, but it's still like, we're talking about like 10, like handfuls of people in the world that think and are aligned like this at this age, she's really buttoned up, super cool. And she's, the best part, like I had my son up there this weekend. We were hanging out, and she just like, her mom and dad were there, and she's just good people. Like she just like, she's someone that I can point my daughter towards, just like so many others are, like Brooke and, Catrin and all these other people we work with. But she's just another person like that. Like she is humble and got great values. She's got a great family. Like you would look at that and be like, how's the family dynamic? Because she's, pushing herself so hard at such a young age. They're just like, we want you to be happy, honey. Like you do you. And they live it and they truly support it. So yeah, I'm excited.
What's the conversation like in terms of up there in the little training camp of her winning the Open? Is that something that was unexpected, that they were like, oh, after 2 weeks, man, we had a chance, we might as well go for it? Or was it just a total afterthought? It just happened.
Yeah, there's like that had, I mean, I think that's it's not a surprise that she won the Open. I think it's just like, oh, like, I mean, I just know how we always approach that with Matt. Like, that was never anything. I will say, like, early on, there was some focus on it, like way back in like the 14s and 15s, but like that changed where it was like he won the Open 4 times, and most of those times it was he had no idea even after the results were up because he just didn't pay any attention. It was like dump your score and go. Yeah, I mean, she like
the reason I ask is because
Fridays like huge training days and then doing the workout Saturday morning. So there's been no focus on it. You know, it's like not something.
I'm struggling. I'm struggling.
Well, the thing is like that when Matt was winning the Open unintentionally, we can say he was in his late 20s to early 30s. She's 18, like you said. Like as an 18-year-old kid, if you're winning the biggest sporting event in the world, like that's an exciting thing. But what I've learned from being around some of these athletes, and in particular the women, especially at young ages, is some of them just have this mindset that's really I can't understand.
Yeah, she she did all the workouts once on a Saturday after big training days, like, and won the Open. So she's in a good spot. Like
there's no legacy building, O'Keefe. I find this so hard to believe, man. It's fascinating. I mean, I believe you, but she, like yesterday in the show, I was like, yeah, she did this on purpose. I wouldn't be surprised if she did each workout 5 times. And I don't mean this. I don't even mean this in a negative way.
Right.
I think it's like you look at the Matt, the Rich, the Tias, and when they're introduced to the crowds, it's like this motherfucker's been at the top since day one. They're all first, second. And like part of me is like, yeah, she's already planning for the MWPO in 10 years. Mallory work pays off. You know what I mean? Like she's already knows what. Like, why not do it to win it and already start cementing your legacy? Why not do every workout 5 times? I mean, that's brand building what she did. Let's just face it, right?
True.
She beat fucking Tia.
True in a lot of ways.
And people are going to see that in 5 years. We're going to be doing this show in 5 years. And Brian goes, well, don't forget Mal O'Brien beat Tia in the Open in 2022. And we're going to be like, oh, yeah, right.
So is the process by which, and I've been most involved with this, Matt winning the Open 4 times, truly not paying attention to it. So like that's even exponentially better, right? Where it's like
crazy.
That's fact.
Crazy.
But yeah, they're winning's cool. Like that doesn't hurt ever to win anything.
Plus, I mean, she's relatively early in her career. Like that's a little bit of a bonus money for her. That's probably really nice.
I think a lot of younger athletes would get in a trap of trying to win that. That's what I think is like really cool about her in this is that she didn't try to win that, but won it, right?
Why do you say a trap? Why do you say a trap?
Because you could beat yourself up doing it and it's not the destination. Like, if you're a young athlete that's coming in, there's a lot of, well, again, it depends on where your destination is because you are spot on. Like that could be a very big brand building exercise early in someone's career to say like, hey, let's focus on the Open. Go win it. You have the capacity to do it. It's going to affect your ability to be successful at semifinals in the games, but let's focus here. It could be an approach. But I would say like, but focusing on that is going to be detrimental, like, So that if you do those workouts 4 times, that's not going to help you in the next stages. I mean, I guess that's my point.
And this I just was curious if that weapon mindset that he talks about or he references there is something that's reserved for the Hopper, Marconi, Mal O'Brien. That's part of like a very small group of athletes that HWPO is working for that are very elite, or if there's any carryover to what you guys are providing for the masses and the HWPO programming. That it might not be the same lethality of weapon, but that this program will develop humans that are resistant and resilient. Do you guys think about that at all?
100%. Like I think that's precisely what should be most attractive to what we do. Because that mindset, which I think is going to be more developed over time so that people can consume more of it. But it's what we give access to members on is Matt talking about approach and how they, think about their goals and how they think about the work that's put in daily to do those things. And that basic, gritty, grimy mindset. I think everybody that subscribes and comes over and does even a short period of time with us gets access to that and learns that. It doesn't matter if it's Mal, Jason, and Jake, Matt, or if it's me. That's. I think that's what's best about this.
You know what I really liked about the his question and answer responses yesterday was someone asked him about if the HWPO is available to just your average athlete, and his response to that, he put a picture of you working out.
That's cool. That's cool. Average, just average. I mean,
you're definitely above average. That's for sure.
I actually thought it was so funny. I almost responded to Fraser, which I have never even thought about doing before, on his personal Instagram, and said, accidental inclusion of O'Keefe in the picture as a response to this one.
No, but it is. We get a lot of those questions. I think he can look like, well, he's the greatest of all time at this. What am I getting myself into? But yeah, I mean, I do this shit essentially is a really good answer to it. So I'm glad he answered it that way.
Matt, yeah. You said that Brooke Wells doesn't have any poor me in her. Do any of the athletes have any poor me in them?
I think
and by any I mean the good ones.
The greats, yeah. Not really. I everybody's allowed that moment. I mean, I have it. I don't know if you guys would be willing to admit you do too, but
I didn't like the way you phrased that, by the way.
I almost responded to your question by saying I do. I mean, I felt a little.
Yeah, dude, I do. I think it's just a natural human reaction at sometimes to be like, fuck my life, and then you just, those who.
When's the last time you cried? When's the last time you cried, O'Keefe?
Yesterday.
You did.
I do often, I am. Yeah,
it was it was the sunset in Vermont.
Yeah. That was it. Emotional.
Why'd you cry yesterday? What happened?
It was related to my mother. My mother passed away a little over a year ago. I really miss her. So I think it's, coming into my birthday, and, my daughter was very close with her. And, I went up to see my daughter, and she was sort of hugging a photo of her. So it just made me cry. She's, it's like she's not lying around hugging a photo of my mother all day, every day, by the way. She was just having a moment with it. And it was, my mother was a pretty incredible person. So, but yeah, I do often, honestly. You guys familiar with Jimmy Valvano? Jimmy V? So yeah, you should watch his speech. They give a Jimmy V award. They've raised hundreds of millions for cancer research. But he gave this advice as he was dying at the ESPY Awards. Those are basically the sport Oscars. That things you should do every day. And it's I can't remember the exact list, but one of them is cry. It was laugh, cry, inspire, all these different things. And so
crying's weird.
I don't really mind it. I'm kind of comfortable with it. It's how you feel. I guess it's I'd never suppress how I felt about anything. It's not always a sad thing. It's an emotional thing. Dude, all you have to do is watch Instagram enough and look at people's stories.
Even when you just said that your mom passed away, I felt my tear ducts turn on. Do you know what I mean by turn on?
Yeah. Yeah.
I heard them being are we on? Why do we cry? I know this is off subject. What's the do you know what I mean? If someone throws a ball at you, you go like this. We could have
why don't we have to go to the bathroom instead of cry? Why is that the reaction you mean?
Yeah, what's the value of crying? What's the your penis gets hard and you know why? It's either to stop urine from coming out while you're asleep, or it's because you got to bone someone. What's crying? I don't get the whole crying thing.
I don't know. Like they're, you know, because we know, I mean, every reaction your body has is a defense for your body to, you know, it's like a safety measure, right? Like, I don't know what the answer to that would
It's
be.
either to run or to bone. Those are like most of the responses can be put in 2 buckets.
I don't think the crying thing can be put in that.
Yeah, I know. That's what's weird about it. So I had my first crying incident in as far back as I can remember a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was last week. And I was just caught so off guard by it. I bought my son a one wheel, which was really hard to buy him. And it was really fucking expensive. And it was at like $2,000, and he was riding it every day for like 3 months, and I'd take him to the beach and he'd ride it. And we came home one day and I realized that he rode up to the car, he jumped in the car, and I left it there. And when I went back, it was gone. And I came home, and it's so crazy to say this, right? When the fucking World War III is breaking out in the Ukraine. But I came home and I laid in my bed just like, and tears started pouring out of my eyes. Like I fucking let my son down. I fucking lost his shit. It was crazy.
Yeah. Did you have your heroin friend over that day?
No, but that I know, right? But God, it was so crazy. It was so bizarre. Tears were just, I'm just lying in bed and tears. I'm just feeling sorry for myself. I'm just telling myself what a shitty dad I was. Like, tears are just running down the side of my face. And I'm like, but at the same time, I'm like, this is stupid. Like, it's nothing. It's just an object that got lost. It's like, it was a trip.
Yeah. That's
I know it's not as good as your mom passing away. I'm sorry to even bring the two up.
No. It is, but I relate because I have kids. I have a 13 and a 15-year-old, and the you know, I am very emotional about anything with them. Scared for them. Like I just, yeah, I mean, I can totally relate to that. You know, I hurt when they hurt, you know. And it's funny, like you say that about like material thing. You know, I can, like, I feel that pain when they, you know, are an outsider or don't have things others do. Like, it's not, you know, I'll act on those things, but it's like, you know, I want my kids to have like the perfect process and experience, you know, and I want to be perfect for them and improve upon all the things I learned that I didn't maybe love about how maybe I went through the process. But yeah, it's, you never felt emotion until you have, like, when you just said is like you felt like you might have let your kid down or your kid's hurting and you can't control it. You know, that's some fucking pain, but it's some real pain.
It's weird giving your kid shit too that you know is going to hurt them. So like you buy your kid a drone and he's so happy, but you know the process. In 3 hours, he's going to crash it into the lake next to your house, and he's going to be fucking crying. And you just said, like, every time my kids get something, I'm like, fuck, I'm just setting them up for fucking failure. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, you got to, but it's like you give them a
short-term
skateboard.
view. That's the short-term view. The long-term view is you're setting them up for how to deal with adversity,
right?
Problems, things that don't go their way.
You give him a skateboard, and you're like, well, I just broke my kid's arm. I just broke it. And he's like, oh, thank you. And you're like,
dude, I went through this with my son with baseball, where there was a, you know, man, it like I'm even getting emotional thinking about it right now, because it was like, he is a very good athlete, and I don't care. I always preface that because like I grew up in a situation where I think I was pushed because, you know, my dad didn't necessarily get all his athletic, you know, stuff out of himself. So he pushed me hard, and I'm grateful for it because I had a lot of success.
That's the position my kids are in. They had a pussy for a dad. And now they have to
my dad played college baseball, but it was just like, I think he just didn't like feel like he applied himself. So he was always just like effort, attitude. Like, it was always too, like, from my perspective, when I look back, I'm like, it was a bit much, you know, like, but you know, at the time I consumed it and it helped me, but I'm like, I want my kid to be the best astronaut, like, whatever, like, just, but apply himself where he wants.
I do not want my kid going to space. I fucking do not want my kid going to space. Sorry.
But he got hit. He was, we were in like an all-star thing a couple of years ago, pre-COVID, and he got hit by a pitcher throwing really fast.
Oh God.
And it changed the game. He quit. Like and I actually endorsed it. Like the pitcher's hand would get here and he would just dive out of the box.
How old was he? How old was he?
it was like he was 12 at the time, and it was like devastating because I was like, dude, you're so good at this at times, and now you're just like, I have friends who played Major League Baseball. I mean, I played in college. Like, I'm calling everybody, just saying, like, what do I do? Do I like throw baseballs at them and like hit them and teach them to hurt? Like, I don't remember. I was never scared of, like, I got hit by 100-mile-an-hour fastballs and walked down and took my base. Like, I didn't care about that stuff. It didn't bother me. So I don't, like, it bummed me and it hurt me because he loves the sport. And he would cry he'd be shaking before he'd go to the plate. I would be crying as his coach, be like, man, what am I doing to this kid? Like, this sucks. But you're also like, you go out there and learn, like, you're going to overcome this fear and this probably help you later in life. And I let him quit because it was just too much. And I succumbed to that pain too. I was like, man, I don't want you to hurt. Like, go ahead. You don't have to do this anymore. And he come back this week, like 2-3 weeks ago. And he's like, dude, I want to play. This is how he would talk to me, dude, but he wants to play baseball again. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. But I'm psyched. Like I'm interested to see how that plays out, but I'm probably just doing what, you were describing, walking myself into some more fucking pain.
Yeah. He gets hit. Now he's going to get hit again. Hey, same thing. My son did jiu-jitsu fucking 5 days a week for 3 years. Some new kid was in the class, kicked him in the stomach. And, he said he felt like his urine went back. Like when he kicked him, he said it kicked him in the bladder, and he said it felt like his urine went inside of him. And he basically refused to do any classes for 6 weeks. And it was a huge learning experience for me. At that point, I realized I don't care how good my kid is at anything. I just need my kid in the game. Like I was like, whoa, I need to like, cause this is horrible. And now he's back in the game. And like, I don't even care. Like if he's just having fun the whole time and never learns anything. And like his tennis class, I'm like, oh, that's fine. Like it reset the baseline for me. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to beat Federer by the time he's 12. It's enough that he just fucking goes out there and like looks at girls. I'm good.
You know what? I got to ask you this. You have the kid, you have young kids younger than mine, but like it's interesting because
you
like,
let them back in the house. Tell them to get the fuck out, O'Keefe.
What's that?
We were quiet for a second. You let the fucking door open. The dogs came back in.
Yeah, you go through this stuff as a parent, like thinking like activity is always the answer. It is, by the way. Like being active as a kid is so healthy and important. My kid's a ping pong ball. He's around the neighborhood. Like I throw him outside every day. Like get off the TV, get off the computer. It is interesting though, like just to look at like today's day and age, because there is value around them being engaged digitally too, right? Just like how to balance that. I think I've done a poor job as a parent with it, trending more towards like, shutting it off than necessarily accessing it. They're in a good place now with it. Like they have access to both. They make good choices for the most part. Sometimes they trend too much towards activity. Towards digital, like not being outside and active. And I try to remind them and kick their ass outside. But how do you feel about that with your kids? Like, is it abstinence for you with them on that stuff, and then slowly going to drip it on them, or like where are you at with the kids with that?
I try to ask questions. I try to be really, there was this thing I realized in college. I was barefoot for 2 years, and people would say, "Why are you barefoot?" And it really, really misses the mark to ask someone that. The question is why do you put on shoes? Like a brain dead motherfucker, you wake up every day and you put on shoes and you don't even think why. And you're not you, O'Keefe. And you're in such denial that when I ask you why you put on shoes, you say you have this litany of responses that you give that you've never thought. You're just a defensive, sleeping pile of shit. You say, oh, to protect my feet. Oh, because objects are sharp. Oh, because I don't want to injure myself. And anyone who's been barefoot for 2 years knows that's all bullshit. Like when I was after 2 years, I could step on a fucking tack and it didn't hurt my feet. Right now, of course, there's some people who are like, well, I live in the Arctic Circle and I'll get frostbite. So I try to raise my kids like that. I try to raise my kids like, what is every single thing I tell them or do or situation I put them in doing to them? And also I have all the other kids around them. I mean, the real truth is, and this is going to sound so fucked up, 90% of the kids my kids hang out with are piles of shit. They're just they've watched too much TV. They've been told too many things by their parents. They're already indoctrinated. They have no like when I hear my kids talk about the color of people, it's all in reference to crayons and who's the easiest to draw. That's it. Like yesterday I took my kids into a mall for the first time in their life, 2 5-year-olds and a 7-year-old, and they saw it as a place to run. They were fascinated by the smells and the floor.
Is March 14th, and
so I bought them a video game that has like on Amazon. It has like 500 games from when we were kids, O'Keefe. They're all games from the 80s and 90s.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's sick.
And so that's their they pick one player, 2 player. You're right. There is value in them knowing that, but that's their thing, and they have to plug it and charge it in. And but I don't let them see the Apple TV or like their friends at jiu-jitsu all have those big Nintendo Swifts or like fuck that.
Yeah.
Like,
there is too much. There is too much for sure. I can totally see that.
I think we're moving to a place where entertainment is going to be the job. And so I want my kids to be able to entertain people, run, jump, play music, sing, dance, and then also be good at math and English. I also think that language is sorcery. I think the person with the biggest vocabulary and the most artistic use of vocabulary conducts reality.
But they need to all be able to do it digitally. There's nobody that wants to go see that shit live anymore. I mean,
Right, wow.
there is and there isn't, but their generation's going to be less and less that way.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, my point was, by the way, of asking, do you know any Poor Me athletes? Because this is what trips me out. I would implore that everyone who's made it to the top in life remember that they did it through hard work and not Poor Me, and that remember that when you feel sorry for other people, that you're actually holding them down.
True.
No one made it to the top. Don't cut people slack. You can love people and still ride them like a motherfucker. You can still be harsh. Don't cut people slack. Don't cut your kids slack. Hold your peers and your loved ones up to high expectations. Don't feel sorry for anyone. Give them maybe a little space. Give them a few hugs, a few attaboys, and then get right back on them and ride them. You're not helping anyone by feeling sorry for them. I don't think. I think you're actually doing the opposite. I think there's no homeostasis. I think you're actually holding them down. You're validating their
to all of the days, Jake is assigning
something that's not healthy for them.
That's well, you're describing that whole like everybody gets a trophy culture, right? It's like, no, sir. Like
Right.
that is not a training methodology, like at all. Like that is a very poor approach. Like, great job, Jimmy. You finished last. Here's a trophy. I just don't believe in that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, great job, Jimmy. You gave great effort. I just like, I don't know how, you know, that's fine. Like, you tried hard, like, let's work at it. You know, teaching people that like hard work will get you maybe to that accomplishment. But anyway, whatever. We're completely aligned there. Like, I don't.
And there's a lot of athletes who do that. There's a lot of famous people who do that I see them. They should hold everyone around. Like I don't really know David Goggins' work, but he holds everyone around him it seems like to the same standard that he has.
Yeah, we're just plugging away.
Hey,
Yeah.
fuck you. Get to work.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like, get to work. What do you mean? Like, people need to hear that.
Product features, you know, the percentages.
Have you met the Liver King?
No,
You know who that is?
Talk more about key features.
No. All right.
And then
I
later
don't.
this week, it's gonna
All
be
right.
very, like,
sorry to disappoint.
ton of comments and questions and
O'Keefe, what's on the agenda for the birthday?
I don't know. I get this crew in here.
The other thing is that members-
We're grinding on some stuff. There's a lot of people moving over from hybrid to the new app. So we're just like helping people get in the right place, get their training. So I'll be working. You know, I'll probably get some dinner with my family tonight, which is great. All these guys came up to me, so we rented a house down the street from my house for everybody to stay in. The whole
Wait.
team.
Vermont is south of you? Matt lives south of you?
Oh no, sorry. I always say up. Did I say up?
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
tripping.
yeah.
Where
I'm
do
in
you live?
Boston.
Wait, where do you
Oh.
live?
I live north of Boston.
Okay.
So I'm like 25 miles north of Boston. So
And
I'm
how
like,
far are you from the Vermont place?
About three hours or so. So it's like a couple hundred miles.
Okay. The Mayhem Empire has, they call it the barn. Do you guys have, does HWPO has that gym been named yet? Meet me in
No.
the back. Meet me in the.
We have a
meet me in
gym at Matt's. Like Matt's property is great. We have a really cool gym there. And we're going to buy a building and build an office and build a bigger gym for athletes to have their own place. That's become a really cool gym. Like some people that Matt grew up with come over at night. He's just giving access to some close friends to that.
You guys
gym.
are gonna build like a compound that like here's the gym and here's like 3 studio apartments and like come train here.
Yeah, the idea would be to have some places for people to stay, offices for our business.
Wow.
And then a gym. Yeah.
Wow. Hey, you tell Matt to be careful, man. He's gonna paint himself into a corner and be working for the next 20 years. I remember meeting him as a young man. He didn't want to do that. He's gonna be working too much.
You own if he owns the real estate, then it's a good situation.
I agree.
So,
I agree. But you know what they say? There's this I can only paraphrase it, but they say the boy who inherits his dad's farm and all of his dad's tools is fucked.
Usually, I was that guy. I was in the car business. I know that well. It's not the next generation is not always very successful. There's a ton of failure that goes on at that point.
I picture Matt living in a log cabin in the middle of nowhere with a couple spigots and trees, like draining honey out of them, with 5 or 6 kids.
That's maple syrup.
What kind of syrup did I say?
You said
honey.
Oh yeah. Whatever. I'm a city guy. Honey.
That was the most California thing you've ever said in your life.
So, but he's turning into businessman. Oh, this is my one criticism for the HWPO thing. And other than that, this is the only advice I have for you. In that video on Matt's Instagram, he says industry experts.
Yeah.
I just don't like that. I don't like industry.
You don't like industry? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't like industry.
It's good feedback.
I don't like industry. It's so
corporate.
Yeah, I was gonna name a specific company, but I didn't. But yeah.
Okay, when you guys are talking about the HWPO platform, do you ever have a conversation about that? We know that there's always going to be an element of personal touch or hands-on coaching that is missing from an online platform, and how do you reconcile that?
You're asking me how we do that, or like you're recognizing we do that?
I mean, is it a conversation you guys have? And if so, what's the thought process around, like, we want to give people this. We know that we can't be there in the gym with you to give you the immediate feedback, but we can give you this in place of that. Or is there a certain person that your platform maybe isn't for because that's not really possible in an online distribution?
Oh, Keith, wait, before you answer that, I want to say one thing. That is one thing that video does do very well. Matt talks about his personal involvement with the athletes. Right. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
That's sort of where I go with. I think we're better than anyone, honestly. In even being partnered with someone else, but we're taking even more control of. We will service people better than anyone. I promise you that. Like, I can look you both in the eye and be like, "That's not anything anybody will ever beat us at or me at." So that part, people will in the end look at what they pay for and think that they stole from us, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
So that to me is really that's a big list. If there's 5 things that you list, like, that's a very big goal for us always as a business, because that's not a trick. That's a fact of the matter that, like, I want to over deliver for everything, and that creates this sort of resource base for them to get more too, by the way. Like, when you look at like things, and it's funny, our space, not industry, sort of, gets their hands up a little bit to like profitable business sometimes. That's profitable for the customers as they move forward, the people that are a part of our community. If we grow, we're going to give you more. We've proven that our entire careers, Matt and I, and other stuff that we've done. So growth doesn't mean like, I'm building a big house or like buying a Lamborghini. Like, No, like we're putting that back in to grow the Lamborghini app and like, you know, the Lamborghini experience for them, get more people in, experts to teach them different things. Like that's where that goes. So it's just, yeah, like I think that when somebody comes to us, they'll feel like they're very connected to Matt, particularly, which is a hard thing to scale that we've done a really good job with. People get to go live with him all the time. Like there isn't anybody else in this industry doing that.
It's awesome. We're at a minute and 45 seconds.
That's all it was a minute.
That's how good we are.
Feels like a minute with you guys always. It's been a while. We haven't caught up since Wodapalooza.
I have a million more questions, but I think that's just an excuse. I think you might be the only person who's ever been on the show 3 times, by the way, Mr. O'Keefe. And I appreciate that. I thank you.
I appreciate
that. At least in this in a long format. We have a lot of cameo with Colton Mertens.
That's true. That is true.
Jason Hopper's a cameo, man.
That's true.
Colton Mertens, does he come on? He comes on like all the time in cameo.
He comes on in the comments, and he came on last night, which was awesome.
Yeah, that was really fun.
You on here right now? Great job on the Open, buddy.
Yeah, he killed it, huh?
He did really well. Yeah, he did. Oh.
Impressive. Are you thinking about? Oh no, I forgot. You don't do that. Colton, seduce O'Keefe. Send him a screenshot of your new haircut. He's got a new haircut. He's looking slick.
He's going away from the mullet.
He is. He looks like a Vato. He looks like he just came out of a lowrider.
Man, you got to aggregate all the different references you made on this show just alone today. I think we could do like a compilation. It would be amazing. Just you making these analogies. I think you're the analogy man. We'll call you the analogy guy. And
we'll call Mallory O'Brien the Tia Slayer.
You called her that?
Yeah.
And I like it. Yeah, that's I mean, you know what? Like healthy competition will be great on that side. Like meaning, you know, people, you know, actually, well, people thinking that there's a chase going on there, you know, like I think it'll be really interesting for people who watch. I'm pumped to see how that plays out. You know?
No one got to beat Rich, and no one got to beat Matt. And it's pretty nice of Tia to keep going in that sense, that it gives these other athletes a chance, because you basically steal their soul when you do that. By that I mean this soul, the money soul. Someone has to, like Justin Medeiros, if he would have beat Matt, then his win would have meant so much more to the fucking, I don't know, to Nike than if, like, now he's got to win like 3 in a row just to be compared to the last guy. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's tough, and it's pretty crazy that Tia's out there. I think everyone should be gunning for her and consider it like your last Ben Smith. That was before Matt was Matt, though. But fair enough. But that was before Matt was Matt. And I'm speaking strictly from a branding perspective. What if Mal could beat Tia? It catapults her into a whole different.
I do agree that is a big hurdle that I don't, you know, I've never even thought of it, that like not many have really beaten a champ, you know, in the grand scheme of things. That's really interesting. That's cool. Yeah, and I think we've seen some of that drama unfold on people who have, right? You know, like when Catrin won, you know, beating a champ, and so that stuff's super cool. Tia's first win, like the drama around that was intense.
But it didn't feel like Catrin beat a champ, because the previous year Camille had won, and she had not beaten the champ because Sam Briggs didn't make the games that year, and Sam Briggs had won, but Annie hadn't made the games that year. So it was like this kind of weird thing where, like, who really was the champ when Catrin came on the scene? The closest competitors were Tia and Sarah, who also had not previously won. So it was really when Tia beat Catrin finally that was the first time that we had this kind of feeling that someone just beat the champ.
So Brian just basically told me that I should shut the fuck up. That's what Brian just
said. No, that you were thinking correctly, that it is a strange dichotomy in the sport that we haven't had a lot of people beat the champ, because the champ was either unbeatable, retired, or wasn't in that season for whatever reason on the women's side a couple times.
I think Catrin was the most, maybe outside of Rich, the most charismatic champ that the sport's ever had, and she did it twice, which is pretty amazing.
Not James Fitzgerald.
No, I mean he was great. They were all great. Don't get me wrong, but Rich and Catrin are kind of in their own league in terms of charisma. They're
You're saying that Rich is charismatic?
yeah, Rich Froning.
Who's it?
You don't see him as charismatic, Rich Froning?
I don't know. I mean, it's not a knock saying that. I just feel like he's like very close to the best. Like, I don't. I see that with Catrin. Couldn't agree with you more.
Who's the most charismatic male to win the games?
I don't know. Jason.
Yeah, Jason probably, because like Miko's got an edge to him. Graham's very reserved individual. Ben's very reserved. Fraser's I would think like more rough edged. I would probably say Jason. Fraser's rough edge in terms of a competitor. I have a feeling Fraser's a little bit of a softie if you get to know him personally.
Well, you're going to see that charisma post with him, but that was like a tactical decision on his part to be the way he was. He is charismatic. Yeah. But Jason for sure.
All right, I got to go, Sevan. We're in 10 minutes. I'm going to be on the Get With The Program podcast, rehashing some of the most famous moments in CrossFit Games history.
Two of my favorite, Bill Grundler, Chase Ingram. What time is that at, Brian?
8 minutes.
Oh, okay. I'll be tuning in. Are you guys going live?
Yep. And Get With The Program on YouTube.
Mr. O'Keefe.
This was live, right?
Yes. A lot of people watching too. Thank you for being the most charismatic agent in the history of the sport. I'd like to have you back on and ask about Wodapalooza and what's going to happen to that and all sorts of stuff there. And I can't wait to. We didn't get to talk about the app at all, really. But good catching up with you.
Do it. Yeah, come over and join us though. It's amazing. We'll get you guys logins too, so you can tell us how you like it.
Yeah, and tell Matt not to be afraid to come on this podcast. There's nothing to be scared of. Tell him not to be afraid.
Well, I'll bring him next time.
Okay, good.
Together.
All right.
Maybe he'll feel safer with his binky here. Dude,
that would be awesome if Fraser would wear a binky shirt that said O'Keefe. It's a picture of a binky. That would be awesome.
I think he's very comfortable in his own skin and being on a podcast with you. He's been a very busy man lately, so we'll do it.
All right,
anyway, dude, thank you for having me, guys. It's always great, and I get to celebrate my birthday with you guys, so that was great.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, Matt. Happy birthday.